It's episode 608 of the Locked On Texas Rangers podcast. On today's show, we're talking about Ezekiel Duran, his first major league game, his first major league hit, his first major league home run, and what he is going to do for this Texas Rangers team this year. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On the Texas Rangers. I'm your host, Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host of all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. It's Monday, June 6th. Your Rangers are 25-28, sitting, once again, third place in the American League West, but they're getting closer and closer to the Angels in second place. The Angels have lost 11 straight games. But thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers and subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment anything below. We are over 850 subscribers. We are well on our way to that goal of 1,000 subs on YouTube by the time we hit the All-Star break. I'm going to talk to you guys about how great Ezekiel Duran's second game of his major league career was and what he's going to do for this team, and another call-up. But first, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Now, Ezekiel Duran got called up on Saturday. Did not think he was going to get called up, but there was a left shoulder injury to Josh Smith, who is going to be up here for a while. A left shoulder sprain. Josh Smith put him on the 10-day IL. Duran is 23. He is an infield. He was acquired in the Joey Gallo trade. Well, so was Josh Smith as well. So now that makes 3. 3 out of 4 prospects in that Joey Gallo trade who have made their major league debut. And, well, at least one of them has been a pretty decent contributor so far this year. Glenn Otto, who I did not think was going to be in this rotation this year. He has been a very, very solid number 5 in this rotation. Smith, I thought, was going to be up here to stay. Looks like he's going to be back here whenever he gets off his IL stint. He injured himself diving for a ball at third base and kind of jammed his left shoulder. I want to say that he made the play, but it was pretty close. I thought it might have been an infield hit. I can't remember exactly what happened. I just knew that Josh Smith was probably going to be hurt once he dove like that in that awkward way and landed on his shoulder. I don't think it's not going to require surgery. It might just be the 10 days. It might be a little bit longer, but it's not as serious as Josh Young's shoulder injury. So that is very, very good news, but still a little concerning. Shoulder injuries are always just a smidge concerning, but thankfully it's not on his throwing shoulder. So little bit of a blessing there. But anyway, Duran's a guy who is going to play third base for now. Obviously, his natural position is shortstop or second base. So far in his professional career, he's played 180 games at second base, 76 at shortstop, and 20 at third. And it kind of showed. Because he hasn't really played much of third until this year and last year in the Arizona Fall League, where he was selected as a Fall Star. A very, very good Arizona Fall League after not a great, first little stint with the Rangers when he first got here in the back half of that season. So the Rangers wanted to get him a little bit more plate appearances. Yeah, Hickory, he did not do super duper well there. Had an OPS under 700, but in the Fall League, 19 games, 78 plate appearances, has an OPS of 944, had 7 doubles, 4 triples, and 3 home runs in just those 19 games. His nickname, in case you didn't know, is Duran Duran, kind of like the band. Also because he hits a lot of doubles, so Duran, double Duran, whatever. Shout out to Tim Beamer for creating that nickname when my doubles Duran was just severely lacking compared to that. But in terms of his defense, I've seen him at second, I've seen him at short, and I haven't seen him at third base. Lindsey Crosby, the host of the Locked On Prospects podcast, who is our prospect encyclopedia, very, very intelligent about all prospects. He's seen a little bit of Duran, and he thinks, third base is more of his long-term fit. I'm not so sure. I do think he's a legit shortstop, legit second baseman. His arm is, I'd say, plus. It's not like anything crazy, but it'll get the job done on the left side of the infield. Now, it's going to take a little bit of time to adjust to playing third base every day, but he's going to get the reps there. And, well, we all kind of thought it was going to be Josh Young's job to lose this year. Then he had the injury. He's going to be back to DH pretty much only in the... Well, at this point, it's going to be the middle of August, maybe late August. I don't know if he's going to be able to play third at all this year. But it might, depending on how well Duran does, and well, it's going to depend on how well Josh Smith did, there might be a legit big competition for the starting third base job next year. I thought one of those guys might compete for a little bit of left field. I think they might try and get Duran a little bit more time in left field, but I don't think they're going to have him try and teach him that at the major league level. When we talked to the Frisco manager before the season, he said Duran was going to play up the middle, which I asked specifically. I'm like, all right, well, we know he plays second and short, but does that mean he's going to get some time in center field? Because obviously you have a log jam in the middle of the infield for the next, 8 years with Marcus Semien and Corey Seeger signed to those big deals. And he said, yeah, we think he is going to get some time in the outfield. Well, he hasn't so far this year. He didn't get any time in center field. I would have loved to see him in center field. Josh Smith did get some time in center field. He didn't in left. I think Smith might be a little bit better suited to center field. I think he gets a little bit quicker of jumps. Duran might be a little bit faster in terms of straight line speed, but I think, well, Smith is just a better defender overall. Now, Duran's bat is going to play. It's going to play in the corner outfield. It's going to play in the corner infield. It would definitely play up the middle in any of those three up the middle positions. It also play at catcher, but he's not going to catch. But still, this is a very, very talented guy. He's had a really good season so far in Frisco offensively. He leads all of minor league baseball in doubles with 24 in 45 games, 200 plate appearances. He's also got 7 home runs. This guy has got some really quick power, quick bat through the zone, a very strong wrists. So he's not a huge guy. He's listed at 5'11". I think he's a smidge shorter than that. He's also listed at 185 pounds. But again, he's got legit pop to all fields. There was some concern about him being a little bit of a free swinger, which he kind of is. He doesn't have a huge walk rate, but he walked a decent amount this year in Frisco, had an on-base of 365, walked, 14 times in those 200 plate appearances. That's a smidge low, but not outrageous. He didn't strike out a whole bunch. 36 strikeouts in 200 plate appearances, so I believe that is an 18%-ish strikeout rate, maybe a little bit lower, but it's under 20%, which is really good because the strikeouts were just a smidge of a concern in Hickory, where he did not do well in 2021. But again, he's super young. He was 1.2 years younger than the average Texas League player. He is making his debut at 23 years old. I do think he needs a little bit more seasoning, and I was a little concerned at calling, well, any prospect, unless they're absolutely setting the world on fire at AA. It's a really big jump normally, and I think the last few years, the jump has just been getting bigger. The gulf between even the high minors, even AAA and Major League Baseball is about as wide as it's been in many years, according to most of the prospect experts that I talk to, that say, yeah, there is a huge difference between the worst major leaguer and the best guy at AAA at this point. So, but the Rangers had an option, and I think he was their best option. It was that, or maybe Davis Wenzel, who did have an ankle injury, I believe. Maybe it was a knee injury, some lower body injury. We're going to list it hockey style. And he was the only other real option to get some everyday playing time at third base, because the Rangers did option their regular third baseman, Andy Ibanez. I'll talk about that a little bit more later on in the show, and a little bit about Steele Walker and about these games where the bullpen had a really tough weekend. But first, I want to tell y'all about Athletic Greens. Our next partner has a product that I use literally every day. I started using AG1 because I didn't have time to go get all these supplements that cost so much money, and I wanted to improve my gut health, get more energy, and have an optimized immune system. And I hated taking all these pills and vitamins. I wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I wanted to see what all the hype was about. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no hasty chemicals, or artificial anything, while still tasting good. It supports better quality sleep and supports recovery, mental clarity, and alertness. You can see how mentally clear I am while reading this, so you know it must be working. It's one thing with the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now, thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers first listen every day. We have an important favor to ask for you guys. We put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about our Locked On podcast. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. You can put in a good word with my boss. Say, oh yeah, the Locked On Rangers baseball podcast is the best podcast ever. Bryce is so great. It'll make me look really, really good. So it won't take very long. And everyone that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. So you can go see some good Rangers games in person. To take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Thanks for your help. Now, let's look a little bit into this weekend's games. This is the Rangers' 3-game series at home against Seattle, a team that has started off really, really poor, and I thought was going to be much better than they were. And the Rangers are in danger of going behind this team in the standings. They're only a game and a half ahead. They were pretty far ahead. The Mariners have been on the up and up as of late, but the Rangers had all of these games winnable. They were all winnable. They had leads in the top of the 9th inning in all of them, and only one of them was one they were able to close out. It was a tough Friday game. Joe Barlow blew his first save of the season, first loss of the season, allowed a 2-run homer, allowed a walk, and then boom, 2-run shot by, of course, Eugenio Suarez, who surprisingly is actually good, and the Reds probably shouldn't have traded him and Jesse Winker for pennies on the dollar. Who knew? He also leads all of Major League Baseball in home runs since 2018, which just kind of blows my mind. I was like, no, it can't be. But apparently that's the truth. I don't really know how that works, but it does, and he is a home run machine. He had 31 home runs last year. He had 49 in 2019, the full season before 2020, and even in 2020 he had 15 home runs there. It's just been absolutely insane. Every full season since 2018, he has had at least 30 home runs, which is just nuts. And he terrorized the Rangers this weekend. He had 2 home runs this weekend, and this is not a great outing for Joe Barlow. Wasted a very good outing from Dane Dunning on Friday. Josh Smith reached base twice and then got injured in this one. Simeon reached base once in this one. Multi-hit game for Corey Seeger. Home run by Nathaniel freaking Low. He is on a tear as of late. His 5th home run of the season, has been absolutely crushing it. Corey Seager also had his 6th double of the season. He's a big doubles machine. Hasn't had that many as of late. More of his doubles, what have usually been doubles, have been home runs this year. And I'm not going to complain about that. 4 bags is better than 2. Also, driving yourself in is better than not driving yourself in. But decent outing for Matt Bush in this one. Dane Dunning, 7 innings, only 2 runs, did allow a home run, didn't walk anybody. That is what I love to see. Only 3 hits in this one. Now, 2 of those guys did score, but it's fine. 7 strikeouts in 7 innings and no walks. That is what I love to see. Now, let's look a bit into this Saturday game, the only one the Rangers ended up winning in this one. Glenn Otto felt very out of control, and it was a very difficult strike zone for everybody pretty much all weekend. Except for Friday. Friday seemed to be an absolute breeze. But this was a super, super tight strike zone for Glenn Otto. And it was not as tight for Marco Gonzalez. Now, Marco Gonzalez does have the benefit of the doubt. He is the veteran in this one. And, he only allowed 1 walk. And Glenn Otto allowed 5, a career high in 5 innings. But a lot of those walked, at least 2 of them. Ball 4 was in the strike zone on a full count. That should have been strike 3. And several other of those balls should not have been called balls. But again, what can you do? He battled through it. He got a lot of double plays from his defense. 2 of them, I should say. But that was enough. Duran made an error on his first attempt at third base, went 0 in his big league debut. Multi-hit game for Charlie Culberson, who continues to mash against Marco Gonzalez, has some crazy, crazy numbers. Had 2 of the Rangers' 5 hits in this one. Another one of those hits was Marcus Semien, and I believe those were the 2 guys. No, excuse me. Semien and Garver, who worked a walk in this one and struck out twice, were the only 2 guys to reach base, right in front of Adolis Garcia, who smacked a home run, his 9th of the season, to give the Rangers 3 runs. That would be enough in this one to close it out. And I liked that the Rangers gave Joe Barlow the ball right after, it was an afternoon game, so it was less than 24 hours after he blew his first save of the season. Another great outing by the pen, pretty much everybody. Just a couple of bad outings by different guys in this weekend that made the rest of the bullpen look really, really not great. John King had a shutout inning, Matt Moore had a shutout inning, and Dennis Santana worked a perfect shutout inning in the 6th. Not much offense in this one, but the Rangers were able to close it out. They haven't been hitting a whole lot offense. They haven't been scoring a whole lot, but they have been hitting a decent number of home runs, especially in this Sunday game. 4 home runs, 9 hits. Nearly half of their hits were home runs, and pretty much everybody got in on the party. Adolis had his 10th of the season, absolute moonshot in this one. Marcus Semien had his 2nd at home, his 3rd on the season. He has 2 in the last 7 games, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice to see him heating up with the power numbers we had not seen really much at all this season. And Ezekiel Duran had his first home run. He also had his first hit, a squibber to the third baseman, who he was able to beat out for, I believe it was counted as an infield hit, but he smacked his first home run of the season to give the Rangers a lead in the 7th inning, which would not hold up. And that wasn't the only run. The Rangers were tied 2-2 going into the bottom of that 7th inning, and Duran gave the Rangers a 3-2 lead. But it was like, okay, all right, we just did the 1-run game yesterday, and Joe Barlow's probably not going to pitch a 3rd day in a row. I mean, he maybe could, but I understand them wanting to be a little cautious, and so they went with Matt Bush, and the Rangers gave him a couple more runs of cushion. Mitch Garver got in on the action, his 7th home run of the season, which was about the least celebrated I've seen a guy before it actually goes out. He hit the ball, looked like he was off balance. He was kind of leaning over the plate, kind of encouraging the ball to not hit the left field foul pole, to come on in, and boom, he scored, hit a 2-run homer to give the Rangers a 3-run cushion going into the 9th inning. And I thought, okay, all right, that should be enough. Martin Perez had an off day for him, which means 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, of course. Really solid day, but he did not feel like he was totally in command. It was a very, very small strike zone, and he was not getting a whole lot of calls in this one, even though he did get 7 strikeouts, and quite a few of those were called strikes. He also did allow his first home run of the season, and it came from, who else but Eugenio Suarez. Of course it did. Why wouldn't it? That was Suarez's 11th home run of the season, and he crushed the Rangers. Also, in comes Matt Bush for the 9th inning with a 3-1 lead. We thought, okay, all right, this is fine. Shut her down. Dennis Santana came in this one and worked 2/3 of an inning. Brett Martin came in and worked a third of an inning. Matt Bush came in, worked 2/3 of an inning, allowed 4 hits, 3 runs. Was not good enough in this one. He has had a problem with the home run ball. He did allow a home run to Ty France, who, again, was hitting so hot earlier this year that they named a country after him. But he allowed a couple more 3 straight hits after that, and he was still in the game. Those 3 straight hits tied up the game. Single, double, scored both of those runners, and the game was tied and went to extra innings. The Rangers weren't able to do anything in the bottom of the 9th inning with, I believe, the top of their lineup up. And then in comes Brock Burke to save the day, save his bacon, which I think maybe Brock Burke, if you're going to have this big high-leverage outing, maybe you throw Brock Burke in there if he was available. I would have rather him thrown, because Matt Bush did, I believe, just throw the day before. So, again, maybe don't make him throw all those innings straight, all those days straight in a row. Burke ended up allowing a run, an inherited runner to score, which the Rangers allowed inherited runners to score, or the ghost zombie runners. I'm going to call them zombie runners. The ghost runner doesn't seem right. Zombie means they came back from the grave, and I feel like that's more accurate. But they allowed zombie runners to score in extra innings on Friday's loss and in Sunday's loss. It's been a little bit of an issue with them lately, and I would like them to not do that. Or if you're going to do that, then the offense has got to start hitting with runners in scoring position. They went 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position, but they did still score 5 runs. That should have been enough when you had a 3-run lead going into the top of the ninth. That should have been enough to get them the win. Coming up, I'm going to talk about the other new Texas Ranger who made their Major League debut, Steele Walker, Texas Ranger. But first, I'll talk to you guys about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your betting, stats, and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, news, odds, including this year's NBA championships, the NHL Hockey Conference Finals, Major League Baseball, and of course the latest fighting news from MMA to UFC to boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Now welcome to the show, Steele Walker, Texas Ranger. He is a local kid who made his Major League debut on Sunday, went 0 for 4 with a pair of strikeouts, and just not that great a game. Even defensively, just wasn't super duper great in this one, but he's a big leaguer now. The dude's status has been revoked. He was called up because the Rangers decided to option Andy Ibanez. They also decided to DFA Willie Calhoun. Now, I haven't seen a lot of guys DFA'd when they are in the minors still. That normally doesn't happen a whole lot, but Willie hasn't been super great in the minors so far. He did have a multi-home run game. He has 4 home runs in 17 games, 75 plate appearances, but his slash line is still not great. 221, 267, and 397. That's not great. He's got 5 walks to 9 strikeouts. It's about time. He's going to need to go somewhere else. The Rangers, I'm sure, are looking for trade partners for him, but he is at the lowest possible value that he could be. He's probably going to go somewhere else, and I think he's going to make a decent major leaguer somewhere else, but at this point, he's been given his chance, and it just really sucks that he is probably not going to be in a Rangers or a Rangers minor league uniform very much longer. But same with Andy Ibanez. Ibanez is a guy who, for the longest time, I didn't really love coming up. I thought, you know what? I don't get it. I really don't get it. He is a guy who has a decent average, hits a decent amount of doubles, doesn't walk a whole lot, even though he doesn't strike out a lot, and he didn't really have a defensive position. But he worked on that. He had a great first season for him in the major leagues last year, figured out how to play a position, put together some decent offense, and it became even better at third base this year. Really valuable defensively at third base, and even though he wasn't as great at first base, it's still probably a pretty decent second base when the Rangers needed him to. But offensively, he just couldn't get it done this year. I mean, he had 125 plate appearances, only 4 doubles, and 1 home run. Batting average of 216, on base under 275, slugging at 276. That's an OPS under 550 by 2 whole points. But still, that's just not good enough for a guy who, even though he is providing value defensively at third base, and Duran has been significantly worse than him at games at first base, or at third base, I should say. They both have the same amount of home runs in the major leagues this year, which is kind of telling. You need some offense from your guys at the hot corner. Charlie Culberson has not been able to provide it at all. Josh Smith was providing it a little bit before he got hurt, and Ezekiel Duran is going to be the one who is asked to provide it at this point. Kind of hurts that right when I start getting what the Rangers saw in Andy Ibanez, that it's time for them to part ways. And he had just started having 7 games where he was hitting the ball really, really well right before they decided to take plate appearances and games away from him at third. That is kind of a bummer. But Steele Walker, he is a local kid. He went to Prosper, went to OU, was selected in, I believe, the 2nd round by the White Sox several years ago, was acquired in a trade from the White Sox. 2nd round of 2018 draft, went to Prosper High School in Prosper, Texas, also played at the University of Oklahoma. Now, he was acquired in the Nomar Mazara trade. In case you remember that. In case you remember that Nomar Mazara was a thing. Also, by the way, side note, Nomar Mazara is back in the big leagues, or at least has been. I'm not sure if they DFA'd him or anything or optioned him. But he's back in the big leagues with, take a guess, one of the many ex-Rangers teams. It's the Padres. It's the Padres, and Preller, of course, who took a chance on Nomar Mazara because he was the one who made sure that he was the highest paid bonus baby out of the Dominican that so far that was so highly paid that they kind of changed the entire system because of it. But Steele Walker is a guy who was not on my top 30 prospects. I think he just missed the cut. He is a little bit older. He is 25 years old. Played 25 games in Round Rock this year. He's an outfielder. He plays left. He plays center. He plays right. Plays them all right. So far this year, he did put up pretty decent numbers in 20 games at Round Rock. He had 3 home runs, hit 297 on base of 395, slugged 487 with 9 walks to 11 strikeouts. He's got some real himbo kind of energy. Looks a little bit douchey, but I don't think he's aware of it, and that's good. If you're not aware of it, then you don't lean into it as much. But he's a left-handed guy. He plays all right defense pretty much everywhere. The bat's okay. I like getting him a look a little bit more than I like getting Zach Rex. Rex is 28, and I don't think he has that much of a future on this roster. Both these guys have been hitting decently well at Round Rock this year. I get giving him a look. Congratulations on him getting to the major leagues and doing it with his hometown team. But I don't know that he's going to be a part of this roster long term. Maybe as a kind of fourth outfielder type. Maybe to get a few more at bats when the Rangers are facing a righty and they want to give Eli White a day off, or they want to give Adolis a day off and put Eli White in center field, or they want to give Cole Calhoun a day off and put Steele Walker in right field. He can play all 3 positions, plays them all fine, probably best suited in left field. Not a huge arm, decently fast, not a super great base stealer, just does everything pretty decent. I think he's going to be a fine end of the bench guy for as long as the Rangers need him to. But Ezekiel Duran, I think he is more likely to hold down that left field spot, and there's going to be competition for that left field spot too. There's like 3 or 4 Rangers minor leaguers, maybe even 5. Well, actually, you know what? Even 6 if you want to throw Justin Foscue in there. But at the upper majors level of guys who are going to be primarily third base or first base / DH / left field, there's a lot of these guys that are going to be vying for these spots. And I think defensively, Zeke Duran and Josh Smith would provide a lot more value in left field / maybe even center field, depending on what you want to do with Adolis Garcia. But Adolis is going to be here for a while, and he's probably going to be able to play center and left field for quite a while. But yeah, you got Dustin Harris, you got Zeke Duran, you got Josh Smith, you got Josh Young as well. And then you want to throw in Blaine Krim and Justin Foscue as guys who are going to be kind of first base, DH, whatever types. Lowe has been looking much, much better as of late, and the Rangers still have him under contract for several more years. And those guys are kind of getting close. So Blaine Krim is definitely not playing anywhere but first base. I don't think Nathaniel Lowe is really going to play anywhere but first base. Dustin Harris has shown some versatility. I think his bat might end up being the strongest out of all of those guys when it's all said and done. I think Smith is the best defender and can be a true super utility role kind of guy, but I do have a little bit of questions about his power. Never have questions about his on-base, his makeup, his defense, and his smarts on the bases. Zeke Duran is a little raw defensively at third base, but I do think he can play legit shortstop or second base. I don't think he's an everyday shortstop, but I do think he can fill in at times, and the bat is going to play wherever the heck they put it. But I'm excited. This is a competition. You never have too many guys for one position. That is not a thing. You will make room for them elsewhere, even if you want to slot one of those guys into right field, if Cole Calhoun ends up being more of a DH role. But they have Cole Calhoun signed for another year too. So these guys are getting close. They're getting a little antsy. I don't think Justin Foscue or Blaine Krim or even Dustin Harris are going to get the call up anytime this year. They might get promoted to AAA and then see a little bit what they're doing from there. But then again, you also have to think about Leody Taveras, who is still slumping pretty badly, in the month of May after a very, very hot month of April. We'll see what June holds for him. But he's not that far away either. Defensively, you already know what he can bring, and he's going to be that everyday center fielder when he does play. And we'll see what that offense can be, and that's going to kind of determine if he's going to be an everyday guy or not. But the Rangers have a lot of options, a lot of competitions. It's not going to be a cakewalk for Josh Young when he gets back and healthy for that third base job, or if the Rangers decide to stick him left field. I really do think they're going to keep him at third base, but it's exciting to have this many options. I think Zeke Duran, he's going to play every day at third base for now until Josh Smith is healthy, and then well, who knows? Maybe Duran's going to go back down. Maybe Smith is going to play in left field. But if Duran heats it up, what he said, they're going to get him a chance to stay, and they're going to do everything they can. If he is lighting the world on fire and he's making it possible for the Rangers to send him back down, then he's going to stay. And he's just going to be a big leaguer, and that's going to be the end of that story, and he's going to be on this team for quite a while. I don't know if that's going to happen. I hope it does. I think he's pretty ready. He's fearless. His first home run came on a 100-mile-an-hour fastball that he was not afraid of. He got right on and lasered it. This guy is fearless, and the Rangers talked about that, and they love that about him. He does whatever the Rangers want him to do, and he is putting up some great offensive numbers. I think he's going to be a pretty darn good big leaguer for years to come. It just remains to be seen if he's going to stay on this team for the rest of this season. But who knows? It'll be a lot of fun to watch for the rest of the year. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. Thanks for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be talking about another John Gray start. The Rangers start a series in Cleveland against the Guardians. We'll see how that goes. Probably talk a little bit more about Ezekiel Duran, maybe a little bit more about Steele Walker. But for your next listen, go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully. He gives you a unique perspective on the major leagues, both past and present. I was on there on Friday's episode. Go check it out. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.